the food, because you work better half-starved. So I did that thing for a while. Of course, it was an extreme. I was just doing an experiment, like that, just to see how we are actually, because when I was in Mauritania, they consider it like makruh, culturally, for you to eat dinner with lunch still in your stomach. And so then when you look it up in the fit books, it's actually makruh to eat when you're not hungry. Did you know that? That's not true. It's just, and you try to find out. I was trying to think when I was in Africa. I was like, is this cultural or is this Islamic? And then you look in the fit book, you say, SubhanAllah, here's where culture and Islam get together and they get to roll. Like he just said, it's what kind of people are you eat and then you ain't hungry. What kind of pig are you? And you say, man, we don't eat until we are hungry. And I said, man, there's probably some science to, because when you look at it from a scientific perspective, your stomach, the Prophet ﷺ said, all sicknesses come from where? Stomach. And now, if we use the Western definition of stomach, you just think of the little pocket, right? But if you use the Eastern version, it's from where you start salivating it to the anus. Okay, that's all the whole digestive system. And if you look at it also from just the stomach, when you look at the stomach, you see the things that are there. Most of the immune system is lining that stomach. You know what I'm saying? They say, how do you keep a child from getting scared? Fear and all those things is tied to the stomach. What happens when you're scared? You get sick to your stomach, right? What happens when you hear some bad news? Because they say that when you eat certain foods, enzymes in the stomach come out, or get acids, to break that particular food down, right? So that's why certain things don't taste right together. Because after you eat them, there's certain acids, different acids that makes you, what did the Jews say, not eating certain fish and milk and stuff like that. And so there's some wisdom behind that because of the different acids that go into breaking down the different types of foods. Now, the exact wisdom to that, Wallahu a'lam. I'm not gonna say, well, you have to do this and do that, because I think that people's bodies are different, and where you come from and what you're, as I say, different types of foods. You might need hot foods, you might need wet foods, you might need dry food. That's based on your personal, temperament, and everything like that. So having one meal where you treated certain oils and stuff like that to break down that food, and then putting another different type of meal on top of that might make you sick. You get my point? Or slow you down so much that makes you what we call it the itis. Why? What is it? They say al-bitna yudhibul fitna. سمعت هذا? Al-bitna yudhibul fitna, meaning a full belly makes your mind go away. Makes your mind go away. We call it the itis. But there's science behind it. Why does that happen?
The blood is not there.
Why did the blood get taken away? Because what I said the immune system was? In the stomach. It's checking to make sure that stuff ain't going to kill you. It's making sure it's not and neutralizing anything that's going to make you sick. And so spending all the effort to take care of that incoming, whatever, if there's some bacteria or something there, it takes it away from everywhere else. Because we got to make sure that's good, because what they say, food poisoning will kill you, right? Right away. So it makes scientific sense that that type of thing would do that. So I just try to find out, if we can get to the point where we are actually thinking about everything we're doing and making real decisions or following habits. And if we are following a habit, that may be okay as long as it's not a destructive habit. Does that make sense? So, now, alhamdulillah, the Shaikh is back. He was in the hospital. Alhamdulillah, now we have another. Brother, what's your name? Rashad. What happened to you, bro? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. You good?
Good.
Alhamdulillah. Barakallah. Shafak Allah. Min kulli ma yu'zi. Min kulli aynin wa shaytanin. Allahumma shfiq.
Inshallah, we can have class at the masjid that he has on Chapel Hill Road.
Okay, what's that masjid?
Awazah.
Mashallah. Barakallah fikum. Are you the imam for Masjid Razak? Mashallah. Marhaban bikum. Let me give you salam. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. What's up?
Good to meet you.
Glad to meet you. Sharafna. MashaAllah. Barakallah fiqh. No, that would be ideal, because when we think about it historically, we stand on the shoulders. What do we say? Islam has come to preserve and protect, prioritize, and always respect.
My deen, my mind, my wealth, my honor, my lineage, myself.
And I said before, we said this is not Quran. So when we think about it, when we're talking about lineage, we're talking about heritage, right? And what is heritage? Is a general term that includes your ancestry and your lineage, and your culture. And in the history of Islam in the United States is really comes a long way. We go back and we see those steps, and we shouldn't throw away that history, just like we don't throw away the history of the Prophet's ancestry. And they were kuffar, right? And we speak about them in legendary terms. Murra and Mudar and those different ones, and Hashim and Kilab, so and these were all kuffar, no doubt about it. But we speak about them because they were legends in their time, and so that teaches us a lesson for our own selves, not to look bad about your own past and those legends in our past, because we're standing on their shoulders. We're standing directly on their shoulders, so you don't forget where you came from. Alhamdulillah. All right. So where are we at today? I want to make a change here. Before we used to call this fast. What was this called?
Fast.
What were we using this for? Come on, guys. The adab of the talib al-ilm in his lessons, right?
Yes.
And so we're going to teach you something real fast. But remember, it's not Quran, and knowledge is eclectic. We learn, we pick up new things, we add it to it. I was teaching this to another class in Charlotte, and one of the students, she said, well, is it active or is it being interactive? And I said, well, yeah, it's actually being interactive. That's more the proper term. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's no longer fast. Think about the fist. Okay? So we have the fist here, okay? That we forget our limitations. We forget what's happening outside. We forget, everything we think we already know, right? About the subject. And then we open our minds and open our cups so that we can fill it up with something else. Then we become interactive with the class. One of the ways is to look at the teacher, because that takes physical activity, right? Yes. One of the ways is to be ready, to prepare the class, and that is on the way out. I mean, my day, when I know I'm coming here, I plan my day, my time, so that I can make sure I get here on time. And they say rather to be before time than be late, right? One guy said he'd rather be an hour early than a minute late, right? So, there's an expectancy of being there. If I showed up and nobody was here, I would be depressed. And likewise, I think that you all would be disappointed if you showed up here and I didn't show. You get my point? Because we've been let down. And the Muslim doesn't intentionally disappoint his brother or his sister in that regard. Does that make sense? I told you the story about one guy, the Marine Corps guy. He told me, I went to Afghanistan and I know some Arabic, right? And I said, well, what'd you learn in Arabic? He says, I know what inshallah means. And he said it really good. Right? And he said, well, what does it mean? I'm testing him. He says, that's what you say. That's what the Muslims say when they're being polite. They want to say no. But instead of saying no, they're not going to do it. They just tell you inshallah. And I said, astaghfirullah. Ain't that, this cat, he went all the way to Afghanistan, came back, and realized that we are liars. Instead of being, or cowards, one of the two, right? Yeah. That instead of saying, no, I don't want to do that, I'm not going to do that, it's not my schedule, inshallah.
Yeah, but that's true.
But it's not right,
I mean, it's not right.
because this is a thing that we say. Now we're talking about the adab of the talib al-ilm with his companions. We're going to deal with that today. Okay, it's a little bit out of the way, but we're going to deal with that. But one of the things that you have to do with your life, as the adab of the talib al-ilm with his life, and we should wrap that up on Wednesday, and that is you have to have a list of things to do, right? Because once you schedule it, you get it done. Once you actually go through the act of putting on a schedule, you commit it, or more committed. But you have a list. You have to have a list of what you're not going to do too. Because knowing where you're not going to do is as important or even more important than what you will do. So you can easily say, no, that's not me. I'm not doing that. Does that make sense? Yes. When they talk about negotiations, they say the deal breakers is where we start. So once we know what our perimeters are, now we can work within those perimeters. So it's very important. So we're changing this to fist. Okay? We're changing this to fist. And let me get started. Get my notes. Quick look at my notes. So we can get started, inshallah ta'ala. While we're waiting, I wanted to tell you something else. I'm still on my book Babel. Okay? I usually pick my books on Wednesday. I'll tell you why. And I'm suggesting this to you. Because you guys, everybody has to read at least one book a week, right?
Yes.
Okay. I pick on Wednesday because it gives me the sense that the weekend is there. You get it? So I get to start with Thursday. It's usually like our Friday, because it's like the end of the week. So Thursday, if I get up from work, I start reading. Well, I might start reading on Wednesday myself. Then Friday, then Saturday, and then Sunday. And then when Monday comes, I'm like, okay, I'm in a rush to finish it now. Whatever I didn't get done from the weekend, now I still got till Wednesday to get it done. Does that make sense? Yes. And so I start off my work week. When I make my work week schedule on Sunday, I look to see what I got left to do in the book so that I can schedule my time appropriately for that. Does everybody follow me?
Yes.
All right. And I use this also to stop myself from being hit with all those electrical things at nighttime. So like the reading is the last thing that I do. So once I turn off my phone, okay, and get it away from my head, because those things are not healthy to have near your head. Some people, they put it under their pillow and they sleep next to that thing. And those are radioactive little rocks, if you didn't know. A lot of the Apple people are suing Apple, right? Did anybody know that? Because a lot of them have cancers, the people who are making those phones, because that stuff is very highly reactive. And so you shouldn't really have it. Remember the old phones? They said if you put it in your head, it would get all hot and everything. And they said don't put it near the child's head. These are just as bad. That's why they came up with the little thingy that you put in your ear. The earbuds, so that you wouldn't have that thing near your head. So I said I turn it off at nighttime. Before I go to bed, I turn off all those things, the TV and everything, so I make sure those things are not stimulating me before I go to bed. And then I read, have some quiet time, and it helps me put me in the mood for sleeping, right? Because we talk about feng shui, right? What was that? Feng shui. What does that mean?
Energy.
Feng shui. I don't have the proper pronunciation. What is it called?
Feng shui.
Feng shui. Basically, it's decorating your room.
It's a spatial literacy, actually.
Okay, so spatial literacy, okay? What I understand it as is making your environment peaceful or setting up the environment for what you're going to do in that environment. Now, if you want to be successful, you have to understand an important rule. You cannot do more than one thing at a time. This idea of multitasking is not real. Neuroscientists are now saying that no one multitasks. You're actually just switch tasking. Okay? Now, switch tasking means you have to stop task, change mind, start task. Okay? Now, what happens there is what's quicker, the mind or the body? People stutter. Why do they stutter? We used to think they were stupid, right? But why do people stutter? Because their mind is using so fast, they've moved on and they still haven't gotten it out. They're super fast. Okay? Same thing happens when you switch tasks. Your mind might have switched tasks, but your physical might still be over here. And your eyes still holding a picture of what you were doing, and then you have more apt to make a mistake. Now, what I'm talking about today and Wednesday, I'm talking about what we call the mechanics of being a talib al-ilm. Wa alaikum salam, doctor. Because, remember before I said it takes more than just desire and motivation. You have to have purpose and direction. And that's the technique. There's a technique for everything. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us, "Ni'matani maghbunun fihima kathiran min an-nas, as-sihhatu wal faragh." Two blessings most people do not appreciate. They do not understand how valuable they are, so they don't get the benefit of these two precious things. They are your free time and your good health. That's a concept. How do we put that into practice? You get the point? There are mechanics to that. I say, do not eat in your bedroom. Do not do your work in your bedroom. Do not watch TV in your bedroom. Only do quiet things. Move all that stuff out your bedroom if you can. Because you're always conscious of your environment, subconsciously. And if you go in, like what happens when you come in the masjid? Immediately you go, right? You relax. You can pray better in the masjid, sometimes real nice and long, you know. But if it's your job, you're like, Allahu Akbar, Sami Allah. You know, you're moving so fast because you're not in an area that's conducive for that particular activity. So what happens is, if you came to the masjid and you argued, then what vibe would you feel when you came to that masjid? You have a negative tendency, right? If you go to your bedroom and you're having a problem getting to sleep, you're doing too many things in that bedroom. Because there's a classical conditioning. Remember, ding, 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 the bell and the dog salivates, right? So I did this with my children. When they were really small, right before I would put them to bed, I would recite to them Ayatul Kursi. I say, Bismillahumma mutu wa ahya, Bismillahumma. And then what happens, I started to notice that if I started to recite, they would start falling asleep. You get my point? If I put my daughter in the bed and I didn't recite to her, she just play. She, as soon as I come in and say, okay, she starts laying down. She's been conditioned now that when she hears that, there's no more playing, no more calling out, all right? And it like knocks her out. You get the point? Now, if you made your bedroom, what do they make those dark curtains for? So you can get it completely dark. And you go in there and there's just a bed, or maybe a nightstand with your book, right? And you go in there, as soon as you walk in the room, after 4 days, your mind is going to say, it's time for bed. It's time to relax. It's quiet time. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
And then you do what you're going to do somewhere else. Same thing if you want to do some work. If you want to do some work, don't do it on a computer you watch movies on. Okay? Don't do it in the area that you do other things, because then your mind's going to say, well, I got alternatives to doing this job right here. I could do this, that, and the other thing. Do the work in the work area. Okay? Do the work there. That way you become more productive with your time. And what did we say? As-sihhatu wal-faragh. Does everybody follow me?
Yes.
Okay. So that's some of the adapt that we have to, that I would like you guys to understand. Now we're talking about the adapt of the student. Where's the, okay. I got it. Astaghfirullah. The adapt of the talib with his companions. There's a thing you have to understand here. This is not something, new. Okay, there are a lot of things I learned. I'll be quoting from the Marine Corps. I'll quote from different places. Life is eclectic. Knowledge is eclectic. You get it wherever you can find it. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, knowledge is the lost item of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he should pick it up. It's his. So when we find it, we get it. With regards to your companions, what are the things we're trying to preserve? Our time, right? So there are 4 instances. One of them is important and urgent. Please write this. The other one is important, not urgent. The third one is urgent, not important. And the fourth one is not urgent and not important. Now, some people are going to say, well, Abu Taba, we heard this before. This is in the 7 Habits of the Most Effective People. That's okay. Common sense is not common practice, is it?
No.
So I'm reminding you of things that we can put it in its proper place. Okay? Important and urgent, I should say. Important but not urgent. Urgent but not important. Not urgent and not important. There is no situation you will be in your life except for this one of these four. So if you want to put the mechanics, the know-how, the technique of saving your time, understanding the importance of your time, like the Prophet ﷺ told us, this is how you put together and you put into practice that hadith. This is taken by the asbab, the ways that Allah has made for us. Now, important and urgent. Somebody tell me something that's important and urgent. Nope. Unless it's Maghrib, it's not important and urgent. Important and urgent is, we say, leggy. I mean, it's got to happen right now. Somebody else.
Somebody
A woman giving birth. That's important and urgent. Everything. See, important and urgent means everything stops. Nothing is more priority at the moment. You guys get my point? So when a woman says she's going, unless she's a new mother and she's got Braxton Hicks, then we just say, oh, baby, that's the way it goes. You know? But if we know that she is really, it's time, then everything stops, right? Even Allah makes point about that the she-camel about to give birth and nobody pays attention to it, that's the last day. Because even if the she-camel's giving birth, everything stops in the village. Everything stops. But if nobody pays attention, then that's a serious situation. It's something else. Something really big has to be happening for us to ignore that. Okay? So, that's important and urgent. A woman giving birth at that moment. What's important but not urgent? Come on, guys. Think about it. Think about practicality. Listen, we said earlier that when we're talking about the fist, come on, you turn those machines on, please.
We're having lunch at a certain time, but something else comes up and you can't cancel it.
Important but not urgent? No, that's not important but not urgent.
Sleep?
Sleep is important but not urgent. It shouldn't be urgent. Okay? It should be important but not urgent. Yes, sir. Salah? Salah is important, not urgent. I'm going to give you another example. Yes, Salah is great. Great example. Okay? For let's say like Asr. Right? Asr is important but not urgent. But what happens if you leave something that's important but not urgent and you don't do it? When it's important and not urgent, what does it become? It jumps and becomes important and urgent, right? You got a half a tank of gas. Is it important to get gas?
Yes.
Not urgent.
It's important, but it's not urgent. Until you blink, right? Until you blink, and then the lady has to go to the doctor because she's pregnant, right? She's giving birth. And you have to circumvent her going to the doctor because you forgot to do something when it was important but not urgent. Now, something that's important, not urgent, has become important and urgent and taking the place of something that really is originally or genuinely important and urgent. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's the danger of important but not urgent. This is the danger, and it's important that you, and urgent, right now, that you, in order to apply that hadith, to save your time, اغتنم خمسة قبل خمس. The Prophet ﷺ said, take advantage of 5 before 5. This is how you do that. By focusing on those things that are important but not urgent. So they don't become important and urgent. And when they become important and urgent on their own, they happen when you're not expecting it at the least opportune time. Like we said, the lady is pregnant, she's ready to go to the hospital, you jump in the car, but you had a half a tank. And now you don't have enough to get to the hospital. Okay? Or to the midwife's house. Right? Because I don't suggest going to the hospital. Okay? Anyway, that's important but not urgent. Or you say, well, I got time to pray, Asr. Next thing you know, you blink, and you hear the adhan from Maghrib. Or you see the sun about to set. Urgent but not important. Give me an example. Come on, guys, give me an example.
Needing to use the restroom?
That's urgent and important. Depending on how old you are. You know.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. I used to think I was tough. No, that's not a good example. Somebody else. Urgent but not important. Come on, guys. This is important that you know this one too, because this one will get you in trouble. This is a time waster. You have to be able to identify those things that are urgent, but they are not important. Because usually somebody who you think is a friend, a telephone call, they give the example, like one time, I'm a New Yorker, so I'm going to give a New York example. We don't take cars. We get on the subway, right? When you go down, back in the days, if you went in the subway, the phone shut off. Now they play under there now. So you're late for work. You're running down the subway, and you get a phone call. Okay? What do people normally do? They answer the phone instead of running down to catch the train and say, look, I can't talk to you right now. Why did they do that? Because it was urgent. But was it important? No. But a ring, that's the height of importance, right? It gives you the sense of importance. But we're trying to be thinkers. We're trying to think in real time and get in the habit of thinking in real time so that we're not sluggish. We're not summun, bukmun, umyun. Okay? We don't understand what's going on.
You don't let other people push your button.
We are what are you? Thermostat or thermometer? Your thermometer? Astaghfirullah. Say, not wise. No, you're a thermostat. You set the temperature. You don't let someone else. But that's what happens in this one. In this one right here, if you don't watch out, you'll become a thermostat. And you'll reflect someone else's importance. I'll tell you what's urgent but not important. Ding on the phone. Okay? You got a notification. They say this stuff is so addictive nowadays. That somebody sent you something and you go, oh, let me see what they said. People get up out of their bed at nighttime, roll over. They say this is dopamine. This is worse than crack. Because they're addicted to it and they call it digital dementia. Because you remember how many phone numbers you knew growing up? You knew grandmas, all your uncles and aunts, right? And your friends.
And your own.
Ask how many
Without
people know
looking,
their own phone number.
without looking at the machine, right?
Ask how many people know
No,
their
I
own
know. I
phone
have to plug mine in there so I can look at it. Because we become dependent. Because people think this is important. I'm glad he mentioned that. We spoke about memory before, right? And people think memory is something you have, right? But memory is not something you have. Memory is a process that you use. You don't have a bad memory. You have either a trained memory or untrained. And the mind is not a computer. We always say it's a computer. It's not a computer. What is it?
A brain.
No, it's a muscle. And what happens if you don't work out your muscles? Atrophy. It becomes weaker. So that's what's happening if you're not using the process of learning. And this was part of our next lesson. We were talking, I said, of the adab of the student with his life, right? That's our lesson. The adab of the student with his life it goes back to being in the teams. Back in the teams, we had a thing that goes through the door and says, their only easy day was yesterday. Why? It's done. It's done. And it was training your mind to remember that today there's going to be some difficulties. Okay? And Allah says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. So every time we learn these things, I would think, is there an Islamicization of this? And it's true. Allah says, I'm testing you. Don't even doubt it. Without any doubt, I am the one that is surely testing. It's like triple or quadruple emphasis here. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ. The la and the noon, the ta'keed with the shadda. That's 3 emphasis right there. Okay, that Allah's given. That I'm testing you in all these different ways. Okay? So then be perseverant. High achievers, what do? Give me a high achiever. Michael Jordan's a high achiever. What does he do different from someone else? Practice, practice, practice. And their only easy day was yesterday. When Michael Jackson was, or Jordan, I meant Jordan. You know, when he was on the basketball thing, they said he was always the last guy in the gym. Well, no doubt he's the best guy.
The first one there.
and the first one there. Okay? So he's working this, and that's why I have you reading a book a week. Okay? Because now it's not hard to memorize the Quran. It takes little time. Allah says, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. I have already, laqad means wallahi. In Tafseer, when you see laqad in the Quran and Allah saying it, it means wallahi, I swear by Allah, I've already made the Quran easy for you to remember. But is there anybody that's going to take advantage of that? So we get out of the habit of completing things. Okay? Completing things every day. But if you get in the habit of completing something every day, you've established the habit of excellence and completion. And then how many steps did you take to get here? Who knows? But each one was important, right? Each small step. Each small step takes you a long way. So in the military, every morning, what did they make us do? Anybody who was in the military besides the chair force? Yeah, they used to call it Air Force, but they changed the name to be more suitable. They would make you get out of the bed and do what? Everybody knows. No, make the bed. First thing in the day, they make you make the bed, right? And the bed has to be done really, really nice, right?
Yes.
Can it look sloppy?
No.
That's right. They had the coin test. They drop a pen. They would drop something. If it didn't bounce, if it wasn't tight, hospital corners, you probably wore that bed. Okay? To the child hall. Or they messed your whole bunk up and everybody's pissed off at you. You get my point? Why? Why were they doing this? Just to be jerks?
No. Teacher routine. And
Teacher routine? No. Partly routine. Partly. What else? Discipline. That's true. But what else? It's more than that.
pay
Sorry?
attention to the details.
The habit of excellence. These two guys have it right there. The habit of excellence. Oh, she said it also. I'm sorry. But let me explain the wisdom behind the madness. What have you done when you made that bed first thing in the morning?
You set a tone.
You set a tone. You completed a task. Your first task of the day. You've accomplished it and you've done it in an excellent fashion. Does that make sense? We say if you can't do the little things, then don't expect to be able to do the big things. Attention to what? Details. What are details? Small things. So if you get up out of that bed and you're not willing to put excellence in making the bed, we don't expect you to do nothing great. Does that make sense? And you got a problem with cleaning up on the spot you've been sleeping on all night. We don't expect you to have a great home, right? So, they say, man, lam yafham al-ishara, lam yafham al-ibara, right? If you don't understand a little bit, you ain't gonna understand a lecture, okay? So, that's what happens. And then they say, even if you had a really bad day, when you come back at the end of the day, you come back to a nice bed day, right? Is that really motivating? You had a really rough day and the bed is nice and clean. There's some motivation into that, right? You say, SubhanAllah, that is good. But if it's all messed up, you say, hey, too, Brutus. You know what I'm saying? You too? You gonna give me a hard time too? So we want to make the bed. We used to say it now when I was in Marine Corps, they used to call us Germans. They say, when the German gets out of the bed, he makes the bed. Okay? But that's cool. Whatever you gotta do. Get up out of the bed, make the bed. And understand the wisdom and how it's tied to your Islam. Okay? It's tied to your Islam to be excellent. I'm telling you to read a book a week. It's tied to your Islam to be excellent. Has Allah commanded you to be excellent?
Yes.
What did he say? Inna Allah. No, he didn't say. He said, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan. Allah commands you. Inna Allah ya'muru. He commands you to do adl, to do justice. And justice in this case is in general. Justice with the body he gave you. Right? Allah gives you a healthy body, you destroy it. You don't think you're going to be held accountable for that? Allah gives you a life, you wreck it. To do justice in all aspects of your life. Wal ihsan. and to do things in an excellent fashion. Mediocrity is sinful. And so we have to take by the means and the ways, the mechanics of making our life excellent. And that's what the Taubah. We say it's the Taubah, but really, again, it's about being a human. Returning back the dignity that insan is supposed to have. Does that, everybody follow me?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, a lot of stuff is a common sense stuff, right? Grandma told us, Mama told us, Papa told us. We learned it in service. But like I said, common sense is not usually common practice. And so when we remind ourselves, maybe that'll be the thing to get us into gear and doing things that we've already known and that we're always familiar with. Because it doesn't benefit us to know it and not use it. Okay? Because then that makes us like jackasses. A jackass carries books, but he's illiterate. Okay? He's not doing anything with that knowledge. No, this is what the description of him is going to be in the hellfire, in the Jahannam. Walking around carrying books around the fire. Because he didn't use those books, just carried them around. How many books we got on our shelves that we haven't read? I say get rid of them. If you're not going to read it, take it. Al-Muhasiba. Look at what you got there. If you're not going to read those books, take those books and give them to somebody who might. At least you get the sadaqah from it, right? And if you look at those and determine, well, I'm not interested in this anymore. We make plans in light of our mortality. Now we're mature. I got that before, but now I don't need that anymore. Let me give this to some younger person who might benefit from this. There's a lot of people going to Ghana nowadays, and so maybe you want to send it over there so they can help out people in the different schools, but get some benefit. They'll benefit from it over there. Maybe here that people not reading because they got Kindles and all those things like that. But find a proper, appropriate place to get rid of them. If you don't want them, give them to me. Hint, hint. No, but seriously, you don't have to. I'm just saying. But don't hold on to things you're not using. The Sahaba considered to have two of something that you're not using to be sinful. This was their mentality. And they had things and they're not using it, and it's for shaitan. And then we wonder what's going on. Why is my house upside down? Because it's for shaitan. And we have all this excess. You want to do a drill, they say that part we talk about feng shui. One of the things that you say a crowded, cluttered house is indicative of a crowded, cluttered mind. Now we know there's a closet somewhere in that house. Nobody opens that door without putting that foot behind it. You want to clean your mind? Go just that closet, not the house. It's too much. It's too much to handle. But if you want to do a real action point, if you want to really make a change in your life, let's take this next 2 weeks. Because it's going to take that much time. Because you got a wire in there that you wanted to hold just in case you need, but you forgot where it was when you needed it. Right? Take that stuff and give it away. Or get rid of it. And look at it and then clean it out and keep what you think you need. And then look at it again and get rid of that. The space will clear your mind and allow you to enjoy a better quality of life. Okay? We have to be light. We have to be able to pick up and go. Al-Muslimu kayyisun fatinun mutaharrikun laysa mutaqawti'an balidu dhihni kaslan al-badani. This is what the scholars in the past used to say. Al-Muslimu kayyisun. Kayyis means he's slick and intelligent. Okay? Slick means bad in the English language, but in Arabic it means like witty.
Sharp.
He's sharp. Okay? He's paying attention. Fatinun mutaharrikun. He moves intelligently, cunningly. He sees a horse about to kick, he crosses the street. You don't got to walk past it. Right? To prove I'll break his leg. Right across the street. Good kung fu. You see? Fatinun mutaharrikun. Laysa mutaqawti'an. He's not like a snail. Walking around, dragging himself around. How did the Prophet walk?
Fast.
Fast. Or we would say with purpose. He walked with purpose. This type of walking will keep you out of trouble. There's a miracle to it. Just walking with purpose. How much it avoids problems with people and with yourself. And just the sunnah. There's so much barakah in these different sunnah that we've left off. The Prophet, Aisha radiallahu anha saw some men crossing the street after the death of the Prophet. They were walking. Oh, she said, you are liars. She spoke to them tough. Boom, y'all lies. Ma kana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam wa ashabuhu hakadha. They said the Prophet and his companions weren't like that. And they were the best of the people. You don't have to fabricate, quote unquote, holiness in this. Be you. Have character.
Don't be one.
Don't be one. Be you. However you are. There was one companion, every time they saw me, they said he looked like he was coming from his parents' janazah. He was that serious. That was him. They didn't question that. And then you have Nu'man ibn Bashir. He was a trickster. Played games all day long. They used to throw watermelon seeds at each other. Playing. But when a serious situation came, they were the first ones up. They were the first ones up. So there's a time for this and there's a time for that. Sa'atan for sa'. We have to take advantage of our sa'at. The hours that we have. Back to the lesson. Urgent but not important. Things that are, those things on your phones, those time, hey, don't let them run you. You run them. You are in control. Okay? You set a time that's convenient, that's wise for you to use those things or whatever it is, or answer. Somebody says, hey sister, let me tell you, oh brother, let me tell you, do you hear what happened? Let me tell you what happened. What are you doing if you listen? You're being a thermometer. Okay? And he's giving you something urgent, but it's not important, and maybe even harmful for you. Now the last one, not urgent, not important. What is that? This is the section that you should never be in. Never be in this section. There is no legitimate reason in your life that you should be doing things that are not urgent and not important. Now it's a trick. Some people think that recreation, having fun, and these things are not important, not urgent. No, those are urgent important but not urgent. You get my point? Yes. There should be worked into your schedule. You understand? It should be important but not urgent, kept in time. And if it doesn't, then it becomes urgent and important. But it's never not urgent and not important. Taking care of yourself and those things like that. Does that make sense, everybody? Please understand this particular scale right here. If you understand this and you think about it, use it in real time. It's not rhetorical. It's not cute. It's something, it's a tool that you can judge when someone is talking to you, when something is happening to you. What section is it? And the competent adult is the competent adult is the conscientious one. Keep going. Aware of every ruling on whatever he wants done. But the point here is he's aware, okay, in real time of what's going on. Because he's a competent adult. He's thinking. He's not daydreaming. He's not bullied. He said, Balidu as a kaslan al-badani, right? He said that he's laysa mutaqawqi'an. He's not like a snail. When the ulama talk about that, that means he's walking all slow, dragging himself out, and he's got a lot of baggage. Don't the snail carry the whole house? Everywhere, we don't want to be like that, so lighten it up. Okay? Get rid of all that stuff. Remember, ladies don't want to hear this. How many clothes that the queens have? Hey, you could get a lot of sadaqah. You get a lot of sadaqah for helping a lady get dressed, especially clothes you're not using anymore. Even if it's got holes and stuff like that, there are people who will take previously used thobes and things like that because they don't have. Okay? They appreciate it. So, laysa mutaqawqan balidul dhihni, dull-witted. That's what it's there. We're not dull-witted. Kaslan al-badan, lazy body. Okay? That's what we're not that. That's why we sit up. We stand with some posture, with some character, right? And because what happens if what they call this? So we say, are you a slouch? Stand up. You know, stand up, sit up, look like you belong someplace, like you are someone. And if you know who you are, then that's easy, right? So this is the rundown. Yes, ma'am.
Could you give an example of that last one, because I didn't.
Not urgent. I didn't give an example. Who won the Yankees game? How about them Yankees? I don't either. It's not important and it's not urgent. Unless I bought the team. You get my point? Then it's financial, you know. There's a lot of things that when people get involved in. I'll give it up. Someone sends you, I get all these crazy little texts and stuff like that on WhatsApp. I'm like shy now. You know, I don't want to open it up. You know, because it's something in this, it's not urgent, it's not important. You know? It's nonsense. So not urgent, not important is nonsense. Does everybody follow me? Okay, so this is how you have to watch those people who come and bring you these things, or those things around you affect you. The next thing we need to know, the adab, the stalable, and with his companions. There are 3 types of friends. How many types of friends? 3 types. Anybody know what they are?
Good, bad, evil.
Good, bad, evil. No, man, you listen in the trunk. You know, listen. 3 types of friends, but only one real friend.
One who gives you constructive criticism.
Let me tell you the 3 friends. The first friend is the friend of need. What is he?
Friend of need.
He ain't a real friend. He's only the friend when you need something. Okay? That's that guy, your friend, the mechanic. You don't never call him till your computer break, till your car don't work, till your machine, the wash machine. Then you remember this guy. You get my point? That's the friend of need. Is he a real friend? No. I'm not saying you can't have a friend that's a mechanic, Hassan. You know, but you shouldn't only interact with that guy whenever, just because you have a need. And if that is the case, then don't count them as a friend. That's an associate. That's someone you know. Now, there's another type of friend. He's a play friend. What type of friend is he?
Play friend.
Now, the play friend is the person that you probably known for a long time. And y'all used to do foolish things together. Whenever you wanted to do something fun, what were quote unquote fun, go out, act foolish, do this, that, and other thing, you find that friend, that play friend. Even if it's something that you don't think foolish now, or you want to go play ball and you want to do this, hey, that's all cool. But then life happens. You get a job, you get married, you have children, you have other important things, and that other person doesn't care. They still want to just do those play things. And if you spend time doing those play things, what happens? You're neglecting something that is not playful. You know, something that is important for you, important and not urgent. Because you're doing something that's not important and not urgent. You get my point, guys?
Yeah.
So what happens to that guy? This is the type of person you would never take if he was going to do something serious. Because he's too playful, he's too foolish. If you had to go ask for a lady's hand to her father's house, you wouldn't take him with you. You're going to blow it. You know? If you had to go to court, you don't want him there. He might get you more time, you know, get you a bigger fine. You know, or if it's a lady, she loud and ugly and you know, acting foolish. I don't mean physically ugly, I mean mentally ugly, you know? You don't want it, but it's sometimes funny to play around and talk to this person. That ain't no real friend. That's if you got some time to waste. Who has time to waste? Doctor? No, nobody got no time to waste. Okay, because your time is your life, right? So then the other type of friend is the virtuous friend.
Virtuous friend.
Virtuous friend. Hey guys, say it.
Virtuous friend.
Now here is, we have to turn the Arabic term here. Fada'il. Say this word. Fada'il. I'm going to write it out. Fada'il. Fada'il. This is, fada'il is the plural of fadila, which means virtue. Fadl. Fadila. This is the plural of the term fadila. Okay? Fadila. Okay? And this is a virtue. Okay? Now, there are mothers of the Ummahatul Fada'il. There are 4 mothers of all virtues. We call it Ummahatul Fada'il. What do we call it? The mothers of all virtues. Meaning, if a person has this quality, then he can be a friend, or she can be a friend. If they don't, they ain't your friend. I always ask my child, if that's your friend, yeah, well, what fadila do they have? What do you see in them? Now, the virtues are 4. The first one is courage. It's called shuja'ah. Say courage.
Courage.
Second one is justice.
Justice.
Adl. Okay? The third one is iffa, discipline. Say it.
Discipline.
And the fourth one is hikmah, wisdom.
Hikmah. Wisdom.
Now, in order to remember these 4, I'm going to give you, first we're going to define them. Courage is the ability to stand firm in the face of the unknown end. Say it again.
Courage is the ability to stand firm in the unknown end.
Unknown end. Some people think courage is to be brave in front of danger. Who said there's danger? That's somebody's perspective, right? It's facing the unknown end. The good of it or the bad of it or the unknown of it, right? That's big. Not being able to stand firm in front of the unknown end is called what? Now, Jabal. He's a coward. He can't stand firm in the face of the unknown end. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
The bravest person after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So that's how you remember that. You think Abu Bakr. Say him. Now, what made him so brave? What's the proof, Abu Taubah?
Because he was going to go on he was going to run the brothers who wouldn't pay the,
Not it's up to him, guys. What are you guys listening to? Not wise. Okay.
Who wouldn't pay the
Again. You have to be able to express yourself with husnul bayan. Okay? But you're wrong. I'll tell you. No, the example he's given is not the example I want to give. Let me give you the example. I said these are the mothers of all virtues, meaning from all of these virtues, all other virtues are born. Every virtue that you could ever think about comes from these 4 virtues. Does that make sense? So, as an example, out of courage comes sadaqah. The Prophet ﷺ said, tasaddaqu, give sadaqah. Why don't you give more money when you give money? You're scared you might go broke. Courage. The fear, I don't know if I'm going to give more about this, right? This all I can handle. Because I'm scared. What did Abu Bakr do when the Prophet said give sadaqah? Everything. He even said, now the house I'm living in is yours, I'm paying you rent.
He spent a lot of money on slaves, buying slaves.
No, you get him mixed up with Uthman. Uthman did that. Uthman and Ali, they were buying slaves and freeing them and stuff like that.
Didn't he buy Bilal?
Yeah, he did. That's true. He did buy. You're right. In the oldest Sahaba, but in the later days, Uthman ibn Affan and Ali, they bought some of the slaves and freed some of them, and even to the point that some of those that were the ones that were complaining about Umar and wind up killing him. And so they were like, "Look, you keep freeing these guys, and they're." So that became an issue later on in Islam. But yes, in the early days, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq freed Bilal and those lights. Okay? You're right about that. But Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the example we give is he gave everything he owned. Why? Because he was brave. He had courage. So he's the most brave. And how much did Umar? We always think of Umar as the brave one, right?
Half.
He gave half. You know what I'm saying? You get the point? And then at that point, when Umar saw how much Abu Bakr said, man, I can't compete with this guy. I don't even going to pretend like we're on the same level no more. No one can touch Abu Bakr. Right? One morning, the Prophet ﷺ said, anybody that's fasting? Abu Bakr said, me. Anybody visit the sick today? Abu Bakr said, me. Anybody went to a janazah today? He said, me. Anybody gave sadaqah so far this morning? This was Fajr. Abu Bakr said, me. He said, nobody does any of these things on the same day and it'd be Friday except that they go on a Jannah. Abu Bakr was brave. And this, we say he do more before 9 o'clock than most people do all day, right? In the service. Abu Bakr did a lot before Fajr. Brave. Yes, sir.
In the,
Not wise.
in the early days of our Islamic training, we were taught that if the shayateen or the shaitan saw Omar ibn al-Khattab coming, he would move to the other side of the street. Would he not be considered
Not wise.
courage?
No.
Would he not be
That
exemplary?
exemplified courage. No. I'll tell you why. Because the example you gave explains Umar. Umar is the most just man in the world. Justice. Adl. When Umar became the Khalifa, Ali came to him and said, Umar, you made it so difficult. No one can follow after what you did. Why? Because Umar did everything in his ability to establish what? Justice. He paved the road for Mecca and Medina. He made sure that the animals were given their rights. When it came time for zakat, could they find anybody to give zakat to? No. Why? Because from justice comes husnul tadbir, which we call beautiful management. He gave everybody their rights. Okay? When Umar was murdered, the kuffar cried. All the way in Jerusalem. They cried and said, man, we don't know what we're going to do now that Umar's gone. The kuffar. When they were afraid about what type of deal they were going to get, they said, we'll make a deal with Umar. Bring Umar here. And Umar came all the way to Jerusalem and made a deal with them. That's justice.
Not courage.
Not courage. And well, of course, it takes courage to be just. But just not the level that Abu Bakr had. Okay? We're talking about related to what? Right? We're into irrelevance here. We're talking about the bravest man in the world. This is not my, I didn't make this up. This is by the ittifaq of the ulama. There's a unanimous stance of the scholars of the past and present that these four people exemplified these qualities in the greatest amount after the prophets. Prophet salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. So justice was established by Umar, so you put Umar there. And the absence of justice is dhulm, oppression. And justice is defined by doing everything that's supposed to be there without going to an extreme and without falling short. There is no extreme in justice. Because by definition, it's to do without going to extreme. So the opposite, falling short of it, is oppression. You ever see somebody do a play, say, oh, they didn't do it at any justice. You ever see people married together, he's not doing her any justice, or she's not doing him any justice, right? He's not doing the job, and it's oppressing the situation, right? Omar didn't oppress the situation. Everybody follow me? Yes, ma'am.
Because Abu Bakr was the very second person to believe, would that also be part of his courage?
Of course. There's more than one reason. I'm giving you one because in the science of court, you give too many examples, people don't remember. So I leave one, and then you guys can think of as many as you like that would fulfill that objective. Of course, for him to say, I believe, when no one else was believing, and the Prophet ﷺ even said that. He says, man, leave my man alone. When I said, believe, you guys said nothing. But Abu Bakr said, sadaqt. And that's why he's called a siddiq. You get my point?
It was also said that
Not wise.
no, I said it was also said
That
it was also said that Umar, he was a just person before he became Muslim.
It is said that. It is said that Umar, as tough as he was just. He had the quality. So the Prophet made dua to bless the Ummah with one of the two Umars. Okay, because of his style. Well, alhamdulillah, but Islam perfects it. Okay, so the most disciplined person, or Iffa, the hint is in his name. Iffa, Uthman ibn Affan. Affan means the one who has discipline. Okay, he has reserve. He has this quality about him. So much so that when Uthman came around and the Prophet's leg was shown, what did the Prophet do? Covered his leg up. They said, Ya Rasulullah, what's up? You know, well, how are you going to cover up when Uthman come in and Abu Bakr is here, Umar's here, other people are here? We're going to fire you, man. That's the second time your cheap phone came in and destroyed
They have a mind of their own.
You gotta turn it off, man. Unless you're a doctor. Well, that's the person's job. Whoever's job it is to call the adhan. The adhan does not wait for anybody. The iqamah does. The iqamah is on the imam. The adhan is on the muadhin. He doesn't need anybody's permission.
I have 4 phones.
You gotta get up and move then, because it's
No,
destroying.
I have 4 phones. I'm trying to shut them off.
Businessman.
This is business too. اتفق.
No, it just.
عفة عفة عين فاء شدة عفا يعفف عف عثمان ibn Affan. Every time you have an at the end of something, it's extreme. Ar-Rahman. See? The only name of Allah that has an at the end of it. Because it's the fullest of something. You know, the fullest extent of something.
أشهد لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
So I just want to see what they said on it. No, not really. I thought just while we was doing it. Okay, listen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Did you write his name on the board?
Yes, I'll put his name here. For here we have Uthman. Uthman. We just put Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman is for discipline. Discipline is having the ability to do something that seemingly doesn't feel good at the moment because you have a greater cause for it in the end. You get my point? Like getting up to go jogging. You know, the jogging itself may not feel good, but you doing it because you know it's going to serve a greater cause in the end. Does that make sense? So a proof of this is what happened to Uthman when he was murdered? What was he doing?
He was reading.
He was writing Quran. Okay? Which includes reading. Okay? He was writing Quran, reading Quran, writing Quran. What else was he doing? He was fasting. Okay? Now both those things take discipline, doesn't it? So we see from discipline comes fasting, comes dedication to the Quran. You know, because it takes commitment to do those things. It takes the discipline to do that. So everybody follow me? We used to say
He
discipline.
dreamed to Rasulullah said inviting him to come for breakfast with them.
Nah, man. But that's not for the point that we're making here. Inshallah ta'ala.
Have
So
the ability to do something.
having discipline is doing something that in its face value is not pleasant because of the benefit that you derive from doing that thing. And I give the example of fasting. You know? The example of jogging or working out. You know?
Memorizing Quran.
Excuse me?
Memorizing
No,
Quran.
when you memorize the Quran, it's fun doing it and reciting it. All of it is fun.
Well, I mean, some people, well, not say some people, but if you're trying, you get discouraged, but in the outcome.
I don't know. I think it's that what has happened with the Quran is that a lot of people try on their own. And they're not used to submitting to a teacher to do it. That makes it a lot easier.
Right.
Once you start memorizing the Quran, it's one of the biggest highs you can get. You know, the memorization of it is some of the greatest time of a talib al-ilm when he was a hafiz is when he was memorizing Quran. Would you agree or not?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, when you finish, you're so disappointed that it took you so long. It's not like you're like, oh, wow, I finished. You're like, man, I wasted time. Because it's that easy and that fulfilling. So I think that the people who have those difficulties, you know, it's because of, you know, here in the States, people were forced to learn on their own for a while. And so they got in the habit of doing things on their own. It's actually haram for a person to learn the Quran on their own. Did you know that? That's the ruling. They call it even the very first scholar, Abu Muzahim al-Khaqani, he was the very first person to ever write a book on tajweed as a separate science. You know, prior to that, it was all sarf. Amongst it, it's like a 51-line poem. He must have talk about, don't be like those people who try to learn the Quran by themselves. Mushafi. A self-taught individual. But in defense of us, you know, a lot of times we didn't have the person. So you do, the Prophet ﷺ has forgiven us, has not forgiven us, but he has told us that the believers are forgiven for those things they're forced to coerce to do. You know, you have no other choice. But that's not the case today.
You have to have a teacher.
It's too easy to have a teacher today. It's too easy. It's like, we can't use the same excuse we used to say back in the 80s about people who still eat pork. Oh, we grew up doing it. You grew up doing it because we were on the farm. And that's all they gave you. You're not on the farm anymore. So there's no more reason for you to do that, right? Well, that's the same thing to the person who's trying to educate himself Islamically. When you have this, generations and now two generations of people who now have gotten it. You know, so you don't have to do it that way. And with the internet, you can do it any way you like. Does that make sense? There's access. There's easy access. The last one here is wisdom. Ali ibn Abi Talib, hikmah. Hikmah is the thing here. Hikmah, wisdom. Ibn Abi Talib. Now, hikmah is understanding that there's more than one way to do something, right? Having profound understanding of a thing. This is the wisdom. Knowing how to get it done, causing the least harm. Does everybody follow me? No. Now, if you don't have enough hikmah, what do we say? Another word, humqa. Okay? Hamaqa. And humqa is, actually a humqa is a plant that grows up on the road and doesn't have any roots. So what happens to it? It gets blown or gets trampled. So, and then after that, it became known as a fool. Somebody who's an idiot, we call him humqa. Somebody says, hey, anta humqa. Don't think he said you have hikmah. There's a difference. There's a difference between humqa wa hikmah. It sounds quick. People try to play games, but understand the difference. It's not having enough wisdom. Okay? Oh, believe, dull somebody. Now, the wisest person in the world after the prophets was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Who was it? Ali. And then when they're ulama, they say, and how wasn't he not? How couldn't he be? Whose house did he grow up in? He was raised up in the prophet's house. That's indicative of the wisdom that he had. Who was his? He was like his stepfather. He wasn't his stepfather, but he took over the place of being his father. Right? And he raised him. So Ali knew the sunnah like it was nothing. He had the hikmah. He understood everything. He was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those things we talk about, you hear the Shia talk about Ali a lot. And they say how wise he was. They are correct. Sometimes they're going to extremes. No, they're not going to extremes about the wisdom that Ali radiallahu anhu had. They may go to extremes and start worshiping him and doing things like that. But the things that they state about him, the fact that he's Ali Bayt, that we make dua for him every day when we're in the salah, right? Ali Muhammad. In the adhan. He's amongst those people because he's the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The only thing is that they've gone to an extreme, but does not their extreme make us go to extreme in rejecting? You get my point? Yes. In taking their right. There is a balance. And there is a real, legitimate reason for their stance in a lot of cases. Okay? Yes. The man was super wise. He was the Chief Justice in the time of Abu Bakr. Umar said, I hardly ever made any decision when I was the Khalifa without going to Ali and asking him his opinion. Nah. And he's also the cousin of the Messenger of Allah. You know? When they had problems with Uthman, they went to Ali. Ali said, no, leave that alone. Uthman burnt all the Masahif. And the Sahaba was mad. Ibn Mas'ud said, I ain't giving you my Mus'haf. And they went to Ali. Ali, you hear that? He says, man, he didn't make that decision on his own. He came and asked the seniors first. I would have done the same thing. He came out in the middle of the street. He said, what y'all got a problem for? I would have done the same thing. Everybody relied on Ali. Everybody relied on Ali and his wisdom. So we have these 4 individuals that you can, and from wisdom comes rahmah. Okay? That's
said, "Alaykum bisunnati wa sunnati."
so, and also following these people. But my point here for you guys is to understand these are the mothers of all virtues. Okay? From these virtues, all virtues come out of. So if you're going to have a friend, this is the adab of the student with his companions. He can't be your friend unless you can identify one of these or more than one of these in that individual. If you can't, then he is not you should not be around him. If you have any respect for yourself, you will not be around anybody who doesn't have these qualities, unless they're blood family, where you can't pick your family, right? Then you make dua for them. And be nice and gentle with them. That's your wisdom. But everybody follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're gonna test that. That's we're finished with that. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Before you call it, could you let them close the cars in first?
Yeah. If anybody wants to make a donation, the box is there.